News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler and the Louisville Real Estate Show here with you until the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday, folks. Let's talk about who's with us. Chuck Crosby. He's the guy with his name on the door, which means he's the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. He does not only real estate closing and does a great job at the closings, he does a variety of other things. I can't stress enough wills. We all need a will. It really doesn't matter your age. Power of attorney, foreclosure defense, commissioner sales. It's a variety of things. You can get directly in contact with Chuck at his office. It's 502-499-6360. That's his direct cell, well, his phone number at least. Next, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team, and Brad not only owns Home Team Inspection Service, but he is now also owner of Team Bug Out. And we should tell you that with Home Team Inspection Service, not only do they service Louisville, but also Frankfort and in Lexington. So they've got a wide reach. They can get rid of those critters anywhere they are in our audio range. You can reach Brad and also for Home Team and or for Team Bug Out, 844-411-TEAM is the direct number. And I'm Bob Sokoler, your humble host, but also owner of the Sokoler team over at RE/MAX Properties East, where we sell homes. We don't listen to rumors. We are on it daily. And I will tell you that it is very interesting, the market right now. Even with higher interest rates, we took several contracts on our listings this week. So don't believe the market's dead, folks. If you're looking to sell, we can help you do it. And if you're going to buy, we can help you do it as well. We have a team of buyer agents. You can reach me directly on my cell phone as soon as the show is over, 376-5483. That's 502-376-5483. Or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com, all one word. All right. Son Greg is due on to the show, hopefully, if his Zoom system updates. He's having Zoom, as great as the Zoom show is, listen, it's also a bit of a pain because we're dealing with COVID shows still, even today. And by the way, I'm told by my dear friends in the medical industry, COVID back on the rise. New strain, not as bad, but please take precautions no matter where you go. It is back with a vengeance to some level. To see a rebroadcast of the show, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That is LouisvilleAnswers.com. All right, we start off with a question for Chuck Crosby of the Crosby Law Offices. And Chuck, Tim is writing in as we ask all of our folks who are listening who have questions, send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com, and we will jump right on it. Tim writes in and asks, is it okay to turn his East End home into an Airbnb? And there's some new information that's just come out even today in the Louisville area. Are you up on that part of it, Chuck?
I am. I noticed that they pushed it forward for the partial council pushed it forward to modify the existing regulation. So it'll come to a full council vote next month. They're attempting to do a few things, change up the requirements, oddly, because to try and protect established residential areas and the affordability and availability of rental housing. It sounds almost like the hotel lobby has engaged in some doublespeak there. But anyhow, they're looking to change a few things. Foremost among those are changing the wording from host to owner on short-term rentals. The ability to do it is easier if you have a host who lives in the property. They're changing the word from host to owner. So you have to actually live in the house. They're also changing it so that if you're going to do it new, you have to have lived in the property for at least 6 months. It seems in my mind that relates more to carriage houses and whether or not you're doing a short-term rental with a carriage house, which isn't where the owner or host lives because the owner host lives in the main house. So there's that. Plus, there's a few other things. They're raising the fees, making it more difficult to do this, limiting the number of people that you can do. So is it okay to put an Airbnb in the East End? Well, yeah, but you're going to have a very regulation blocked way to get it. Now, it's possible to do it. People are doing it all the time.
Right.
It's just getting more and more difficult.
Well, it's not just that. Let me add to that. So anybody who's considering or has an Airbnb, your ears should be burning right now. You need to take note of this and start getting involved if you're just cruising along. Up in New York, the Big Apple, after a recent court ruling, a new law set goes into effect next week, this coming week, which will outlaw tens of thousands of Airbnb listings overnight. In a blow for the undisputed king of short-term rentals, the law will enact some of the strictest regulations in the U.S. on September 5, moving options for travelers. It's removing them for travelers and shutting off the revenue streams for investors and other hosts who are currently making money through the platform. That's all I'm going to go into it on the New York side, because we've already.
That's New York.
Exactly.
Louisville's getting more difficult. It's not terribly difficult now. I have a personal friend who was able to kick one through with little to no trouble. Have another client who is still trying to get the permit. Of course, different scenarios. A lot of it seems, in my mind, to hinge on the number of people you're trying to get in there. But the one thing that I saw that really kind of struck a little fear into my heart was the fact that if you have two substantiated criminal or civil citations for the property in any 12-month period, they shall arbitrarily revoke your ability to use it as a B&B or
wow.
Airbnb.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing their very darndest to prevent these things from
going on.
My question is why?
Well,
why?
I think you hit it.
How does
the hotel industry?
That's got to be it.
That's the only thing driving, or neighbors who don't want traffic going through their neighborhood. That could be, of course, be possible, right?
Yeah, and that's true. And I lived in an area where they put an Airbnb up one time, and everybody went nuts. But it was because they thought these guys were going to be a bunch of frat bros throwing, keggers and things like that.
Yeah, well, that wasn't true, right?
Yeah, it's not true. I'm going to go with my conspiracy theory on here. As liberal as I tend to be, this doesn't sound to me anything like preserving neighborhoods.
And we're watching other states, including New York, because as New York goes, it could be sweeping across the country at this point. So, okay, let's move on. We've beaten this one up, but now you're hopefully well aware. We're going back over to Brad from Home Team Inspection. Tony sent us this email. He says he looked at a home this week for sale in Oldham County and noticed that the hill in the back of the house runs towards the house. He says it's pretty steep hill, and even though there's what looks like a dip between the house and the hill, in a bad rainstorm, he's worried that water might be an issue, and he's wondering if he goes back for a second look, what problem should he be looking for? He may decide to move forward with an offer if he sees the problems that you mentioned are not a big deal. So give us a rundown for Tony's sake.
Well, I mean, he's concerned about the right thing. Anytime you have what's called negative grade, anything that slopes towards the house can be a concern for water getting into crawl space or basement or up over a slab. Thing that I'd be looking for, one, I'd love to be out there on a rainy day. I mean, all the dry days we've had recently, it's going to be tough to see, but he can look for evidence of any water staining up against the house too. Oftentimes you're going to see mud stains, you're going to see, water marks. You may see them on the brick, you may see it on the any of the foundation itself. You might see where mulch has been pushed up by water up against the house. Those would all be kind of some of the telltale signs that I would look for. But yeah, any chance that you have to look at it during rain would be best. But if not, I'm just going to look for clues that there might be stains or water has moved things about.
Very good. A reminder that we're going over a lot of stuff. You may have friends, family members who want to hear the show. We make that easy for you. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's a redirect to our video version of this on YouTube. Again, LouisvilleAnswers.com. And a reminder, if you want to hear what sellers are saying about our Sokoler team, we're really proud of the folks we talk to and we help. You can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. That's LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. I have a couple of new interviews with some recent sellers up there. Back over to Chuck Crosby at the Crosby Law Offices. John writes in, he says, a renter in the home won't allow showings to get the property sold. Apparently the renter's contract, the lease agreement is up at the end of October, and John wanted to get an agent in there to list the house, to show it early so he can get it sold and have fewer days off without rent or without having to pay mortgage. He's wondering, is it allowed for the renter to say, you're not coming in here with a person?
To some degree, you have every landlord has the right of 48 hours notice to enter the property. What I've run into in the past is where the tenant won't allow that. Well, that's when you send out the 14-day letter saying, hey, you're in breach of the contract and you have 14 days to fix it. We're going to be there on day 15. If not, then that can be the basis for an eviction.
Simple. Okay.
Yeah.
John, good luck on that. And I know he's listening because he called me to make sure the question's going to be on the air. By the way, if you are thinking of selling your home just a few moments away, so we'll list our mistakes that will keep your home from selling, possibly, or for getting less money on this. That's a few minutes away. Back over to Brad Lawler of Home Team Inspections. Scotty bought his house 11 months ago from a reputable builder. He sent us an email saying the 12-month inspection is coming up. So he's a month away from that 12-month 1 year. He's wondering, is it unusual to ask the inspector who did the original inspection before he bought the home 11 months ago to come back and walk through the house with him? And he's wondering what would the typical cost be for an inspector to do that. So it's actually a pretty decent idea, don't you think?
Well, we do those a lot. We refer to those as an 11-month inspection. And what you're doing is you're just going back and you're reviewing the house again. Because remember, the inspector sees the home on new construction. They see the home before the builder corrects all of the defects that are found and the buyer moves in. A lot of things can move. A lot of things can change during that time. So I think it is a good idea to call back that original inspector. It's a fine idea. They've seen the house once. They're going to be able to, review notes and see what might have moved, might have changed. But I think the real trick here is to understand that many of the things that when the inspector first inspected the house, they may now be appearing as defects or problems. So it's not that you're just looking to see that the original problems are gone. It's really a complete inspection. And I know, Home Team charges basically, it's just another price of an inspection. It's essentially the same fee because we're going to spend just as much time. We'll have a team in there for, 2.5 hours because we are going, bottom to top on the house yet again, because problems, could be popping up anywhere. And you want to make sure that you've got that checklist that you can present to the builder so that they can take care of those defects before the builder's warranty expires.
Makes sense. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, if you're thinking of selling this year or next year, listen to the list of mistakes that we have that could keep your home from selling. With us, and by the way, I should tell you, if you want to see our reviews, because we think reviews are really important, and I would tell you we're proud of ours, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. That makes it easy for you to read some of our reviews. With us and continuing till the top of the hour, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. You can reach them at 844-411-TEAM. Also, Chuck Crosby, owner of the Crosby Law Offices. You can reach Chuck, 499-6360. If you're thinking of selling your home or even buying, I've got a team and I'm there for you. I'll come out in person. We'll talk about the process for selling your home. It's free. There's no obligation. All you got to do is call me and we'll talk. 376-5483 is my direct number. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show. We're here with you till the top of the hour, folks. Thanks for staying with us, continuing with us. Chuck Crosby, he's the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a variety of things, including doing your closings. Yes, you can pick the closing attorney that you want, and Chuck is a phenomenal guy. I can't recommend him highly enough. He's a great guy to have you do your closing. And he also does other things like wills, power of attorney, real estate closings, landlord-tenant disputes. You can reach Chuck anytime at 499-6360. Also here, Brad Lawler, he owns Home Team Inspection Service. You can reach Brad, and also he owns Team Bug Out, both here in Louisville, and Home Team is over in Lexington and in Frankfurt as well. 844-411-TEAM. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler. If you're thinking of selling, we'd love to be able to help you. As Barbara Corcoran, you heard, endorses us. We love Barbara and Shark Tank. You can reach me anytime. It's a free, no obligation time to come out and talk about the process. Call me. I'll come out or in Zoom or on the phone. 376-5483. It's 376-5483. So if you're thinking of selling your home, folks, in the next year or even this year, let me tell you a couple of mistakes that you could be making. We want to point these out to you. So first of all, working alone. I just heard a report this week that if you sell your home on your own, the average is you'll lose 15 to 20% of what you could have gained in some regards of selling. And there's a reason why. I'll tell you about it if you want to talk. Waiting to sell, you're holding off, and it could be that the market gets better, but it could also go worse. If you're priced too high, well, an agent is supposedly going to help you. They will price it right. Selling as is will help really destroy your sales price. You're giving a warning to any potential investor. This house has problems, or any potential buyer. If you're keeping clutter, you need to declutter. You need to get pictures off the wall. There's a whole series of things we can go through in what you need to do to be able to sell your home and get the most money for it. You got to depersonalize the home. Again, pictures off the wall of the family. Skipping major repairs, that is a big problem, because a buyer, let's say you have a $3,000 repair that needs to be done. Buyer comes in and the agent's going to say, oh, it's about $10,000 to do that. So yeah, you want to get that done up front. The costs on photography, if you do your own pictures, you hire somebody who does pictures only on a spare part-time, that's going to hurt you. Your first foot in the door of a buyer is the pictures of your home. Hiding problems, you never want to do that. They're going to come back to bite you. And being unavailable when a phone call comes to show your home, that's a real problem. And a lot of for sale by owners fall into the trap of not answering the phone because they just don't want to be bothered. But doesn't mean you have to show it at that time. So those are some of the things. We can give you more. Give me a buzz, 376-5483. All right, we go back to the questions again. We're still doing our Zoom show. We're coming in like a wrecking ball, coin a phrase. Here's another question. This is for, let's go to Chuck. The title of this email, Chuck, is I received is An Offer Given Verbally Legally Binding. Apparently, Lena writes us saying that she has a home that's not up for sale yet. However, someone approached her, offered to pay cash for it, and then said, what are you selling the house for? She gave her a verbal number. She gave a number to this person. She says, am I legally bound to that price? She's anxious. This person wants to buy, but seems too anxious to buy. And the house has to go through probate. She doesn't want to do the paperwork until next month. So she's wondering, is she bound by what she told someone driving by? Chuck?
No, statute of frauds prevents that. Plus the fact that you mentioned probate. Until probate occurs, she doesn't have the authority to do it.
Got it. So that is important.
Yeah, you got a couple of legs on that one.
Got it. If you have a house that you're thinking of selling or want more information, we have a free, no obligation booklet that has hundreds of useful tips. If you want a copy, just send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line, and we'll send it out to you, along with some other information that will also be helpful. bob@wesellouisville.com. All right, Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection. Sandy buying a house and is allergic to just about everything, she says. Every time she enters the home, she starts sneezing. She's wondering, is there a mold problem? And if so, she's wondering, what's the cost for mold testing? And if mold is discovered, what's the cost for removing the mold?
Okay, well,
I should point out, by the way, Brad has fungi cultures picture framed over his shoulder. So this is a guy to talk to about mold. You want to see a rebroadcast, by the way, LouisvilleAnswers.com, LouisvilleAnswers.com. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I assume everybody has fungal cultures hanging on their wall in
of course.
frames.
But Chuck has it. You just can't see it, right?
Right. He's got it blurred out. So that's an interesting question about allergens because, people have different sensitivities to what we'll call indoor air pollutants. Okay, it might be mold. There's a lot of sensitivities to mold. Some people may be sensitive to alternaria. Other people may be sensitive to aspergillus. So two people walking in the same house, one person may flare up, the other person may not. The other allergens that we often see are pet danders. So there may be dog hair, cat dander, maybe roaches, might be mice, might be latex. All of those things are triggers for people. So if you know what you're allergic to, then you can do specific testing. Mold testing, when done right, when done well, you're probably looking at starting somewhere around, I don't know, $300, $350 on up from there. Allergen panels are going to start somewhere under $200. There's other type of indoor air quality panels that can be run. Those can run the gamut. But I would just suggest that if you know what you're allergic to, let your testing company know what that is so that they can kind of focus in the test, because you can spend a lot of money on testing. You can spend more money on testing than even remediation, because mold remediation, what's the process? Well, it's you remove the surfaces that contain the molds. So it's not particularly expensive to do the remediation, but you have to know what you're looking for and what might be affected, and you know that by looking at what type of molds you find in those tests.
All right, that's a good answer. So yeah, we'll give out Brad's number if you want to help. Do you do mold testing, by the way?
Yeah,
I
we
just
do mold
okay.
all of
right.
those allergen testings we just talked about. We do, and we can help you get aligned with companies that can do the mold remediation and restoration too.
Yeah. And remember, there's a conflict of interest. If a company does testing or inspections and then does repairs or remediation, we really are we all three in agreement on this? We're strongly against having a conflict of interest, because you never know. Am I right about that?
Yeah, and I only test, so I get pulled in as the third party at times, just because they're the home owner doesn't agree with what the remediation company says, and the remediation company says, okay, fine, we'll bring home team in, they can test, tell us what they find, and sometimes I've found different things than those remediation companies have, but it's not very often.
All right. We move back over to Mr. Crosby, Chuck Crosby, the name. China sent us an interesting new construction problem, Chuck. In this email, she says, I've recently purchased a new construction home, and the builder is completely ignoring my warranty items. They are not responding to my calls or emails. Do you have any advice on what I should do next, Chuck?
Yeah, call an attorney. It's time to send out that, hey, you agreed to do a certain thing, you are not doing it letter. That's the long and the short of it. A lot of builders, the good builders, generally don't do that sort of thing. And I know there's frequently a disagreement as to what is quickly responding. But once you've given them a reasonable amount of time, if they aren't responding, call them. Just bug them, squeaky wheels and all that. But if you've gotten to the point where they are not returning your call, time to talk to an attorney.
Yeah. So, and I would also suggest, especially if the builder is a member, and I'm hoping many of them are. Was it the Home Builders? They changed their name a while ago.
Yeah, they did. The BIA.
What is it? Builders
Industry of Association. Like
that. I was so comfortable with Home Builders Association.
I know, and I still call them the Home Builders.
Yeah.
But and I know they have a mediation
platform.
Platform that you can go on to. But if they're not returning your calls, a little shock might not be out of order.
I agree. Incidentally, if you would like to see, we do video emails, updates twice a month. If you want to subscribe, easy enough, go to www.WeSellLouisville.tv. That's WeSellLouisville.tv. All right, back over to Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection. Pamela heard us talk about construction snafus a couple of months ago. It seems like only yesterday. She's having a new home built and is wondering what are the most glaring construction mistakes that you and your team sees from builders in the area. I remember us talking about the problems. Yeah. This is more of what are the mistakes that you're hearing or seeing.
So I will say that new construction, we always find defects in every new construction home. I'm sure the builders take care of them. I know I'm not bad-mouthing builders. I think we've got great builders in the city. That communication between subcontractors is where the problems lie. So, for instance, the HVAC guy goes in, he puts the supply into a bedroom, and then the flooring guy comes in and floors over that and just forgets to open up the supply. So there's no airflow into a bedroom. We see that very common. We see roof problems. We see flashing problems. We see a lot of problems of grading right around the house. Oftentimes they will grade in such a way that, say egress windows or basement windows are halfway covered up. They're just not really paying attention. Or when sod is laid, sits so much higher that the base grade wasn't lowered enough to account for the thickness of the sod versus seeding. So we see those issues. We see it's not common for us to find electrical issues. It's not it is common for us to find different problems with plumbing. We found leaks. We find air gaps that aren't installed correctly. So it really can be just everywhere throughout the house. A lot of times garage doors aren't installed properly. The safety sensors aren't active. That's a common one. Sometimes you find light switches that you can't figure out what it powers. Not that home inspectors are doing a full-on review of that, but that's something that someone buying a house would just want to make sure they know where all of the all the switches are and what they're connected to, whether it's outlets or overhead junction boxes. So it could be a little bit of everything. We see problems with siding. There's a lot of problems with manufactured stone veneer installation. Builders think it should look a particular way, but they don't follow the manufacturer's installation guidelines, which they have to do in order for the materials to work properly. So if you have MSV, the manufactured stone veneer on the home, or if you have EIFS, you definitely want to have someone inspect that to make sure that it's properly installed.
It sounds like we could do a whole show on this alone, so we'll take that to another time. But we are out of time. A reminder, folks, that next week we're going to start a 2-week emergency power outage survival guide report. So for the next Sunday and the Sunday after, we'll be talking about what happens, what do you do when the power goes out. And Fred, you'll be on the second one of those, and we'll talk about, there's a lot of stuff, and we can go from there. My thanks, as always, to the folks who participated in today's show. We've got Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. You can reach Brad and his teams, plural, 844-411-TEAM. Also, Chuck Crosby, owner of the Crosby Law Offices. He better be, because that's the name on the door you'll see. And a nice office it is. He's a great guy, does a great job closing, keeps everything moving, and always has you ask him, folks, about the meaning of life whenever you close with him. What is the meaning of life? He does commissioner sales. Besides that, powers of attorney, wills, a variety of other things, and he's a great guy. Reach Chuck at 499-6360. And you can reach me, Bob Sokoler, if you're looking to sell or buy. I'd love to be able to help you. So will my team. If it's selling, it will be me that comes out. We talk or on the phone or via Zoom. And it's free, no obligation time to just pick my brain. And there's a lot in there. I don't know if it's all together in one direction, but it's there. You can reach me, 376-5483, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com. We are out of time. See you next Sunday on News Radio 840 WHAS.